Hi, my name is Rob Scott from UC Today, bringing you the latest news and conversation from the unified communications and collaboration space. So today I'm joined by James Spencer from Jabra and Anthony Wright from Barco. And we're going to be discussing getting safely back to the office. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Rob.
Hi there, Rob.
Good to see you. Before we get started, however, how about we do a quick round of introductions? James, would you like to go first?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Rob. So, I'm James Spencer. I'm Business Development Director for video within Jabra, within our business division. Just to give you a bit of background on Jabra, for those of you who don't know, we are part of the GN Group. We have hearing solutions and we have audio and video solutions. So we have GN Hearing, which actually looks after those hearing solutions, things like hearing aids. And then we have the Jabra division looking after some of our consumer headset solutions, but also the business division, which is the area that I'm in, looking at both the audio and video solutions, which we're looking at obviously heavily today.
Fantastic. Thanks, James. And Anthony.
Hi there, Jay. Hi there, Rob. Great to be here today. So I'm Anthony Wright. I'm Sales Director for UK and Ireland for Barco. Barco are a company that specialises in visualization products through LED, LCD video wall and projection. But we're really here today to discuss collaboration with the Barco ClickShare brand, which is obviously the largest brand of the wireless presentation devices. So really looking forward to this conversation.
Well, a warm welcome. Thanks for joining me. So we said we'd talk about getting safely back to the office this morning. So first of all, over to you, James, for this one first. I think, and I was keen to kind of get a feel for what's happening out there right now. What's going through the minds of organizations and employees when getting back to work?
Sure. So I think obviously the last year has been a very tricky one for us all. Lots of people have moved towards home working. So home working is very much the norm at the moment. And I think one of the challenges for companies is it's going to be very difficult to actually bring those people back into the office because they're used to a certain way of working. So companies are really needing to think about how they're going to get people back into the office, or indeed if they actually do want to. And I think if they do want to, offices are going to very much need to be some sort of experience that people go to. And I think, aside from that, and we are already starting to talk to people about what their return to work might look like. And, from that angle, some have already started thinking about that, and some are actually thinking about, well, we might move towards a hybrid way of working where it is 2 days that you come into the office, the rest you are working from different locations. But again, that will bring challenges for the organisations in the sense that you might have to consolidate, say, 7 offices down to 5, and then actually have to rework some of that office space that you already have into things that are more manageable and that work for people as it stands today. So I would say those challenges are there. People are starting to look into it. And it will be very interesting in the next sort of 6 to 12 months as to how quickly that rate of change happens within the industry.
Fantastic. Anthony, what's it look like from your perspective? Because it's slightly different. You work with a lot of customers directly, don't you?
So we always, are engaging, at all levels within, organisations. So we're working with end customers, but also working very, very heavily with our channel partners. The key thing, just to really reiterate what James was saying, is that we're seeing people, being forced into this hybrid way of working. And I think, due to, COVID, this has accelerated very, very quickly. And as a consequence of it, we're seeing, facility management, people within the companies now having to embrace, this new way of working, because people are not going to return back fully to the office like they were previously. And again, as James has already mentioned, you're going to see most people working at least 2 days a week from home. We've seen some press and media coverage on some large organisations like BP, which made announcements where they were saying, people should work, 2 days from home. Plus, going back to, what the employee is going to, require when they go there. They're going to be able to work on their day-to-day tasks, happily from home. So they're going to be going back into the workplace and into the office to do a lot more collaboration. And, people need to equip, their offices, more down the route of collaboration and making these spaces far more intuitive and interactive than they ever have been before. So I think it's going to be a really interesting phase, moving forward, that we will see people moving and adopting this hybrid way of working far more.
Yeah, it's a huge change. Thanks for that, Anthony. It really is. And back over to you, James, on this one. But, we've got work from home, we've got hybrid work, we've got anywhere work, we've got all these different kind of workplaces and work styles now that are going to be more and more commonplace. So how are companies kind of reshaping their meeting spaces to accommodate these new work styles?
Yeah, I think there's the two main things I think are on the minds of a CEO or sort of IT director at the moment are, firstly, safety, and how can we get people into these meeting rooms safely. Obviously, with vaccinations going on, we still don't know how long social distancing rules are going to be in place. But equally maintain the productivity from that as well. So these are two considerations that really need to be looked at as well. I think one of the ways, and obviously Anthony mentioned it, is, you're talking about a meeting room, but I think this may become meeting spaces. So actually, at Jabra at the moment, we're undergoing an office transformation, and there will be a lot more open collaborative spaces. There might be a lot more booths within the office, so that actually those are people that can go in there ad hoc, do a conference whenever they so wish. And I think, ultimately the technology is going to underpin this, because people are used to working a certain way at home. They're going to want to try and work the same way in the office that they have done at home. So that technology needs to be overall as simple as possible. And I think one of the other things, and probably the final thing to mention on this, is that there is a big security element on this as well. So in terms of, people, the way people are going to work is very much in this hybrid pattern. So in the future, it might not just be at home in the office, it could be from a gym, it could be from a cafe, and obviously you're logging on to various different networks. Obviously, if you have equipment that is requiring to reach out to the internet, or, get information from the internet, bring it back onto the device, that is producing a lag, but also there's a security issue there. We actually are doing on all our video products edge computing, so all the computing is done on the actual device itself. And I think with all the different areas of work and how people are working very differently, that, as well as some of the other things we talked about with the spaces, with the use of technology, security is going to play a big part of that as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The security piece, it's almost a bit overwhelming almost with all these different channels and different ways of communicating now. I can imagine the security conversation is much bigger than it used to be. So,
absolutely.
Anthony, from your perspective, how are companies kind of reshaping their spaces or rooms right now? What's on their minds? Yeah,
so I think sort of taking down to the next level. I think that sort of there's a desire from the employee to actually get back into the office, because I don't know about you guys, but Teams calls, Zoom calls, etc. Sort of stacked one after the other. People want to get out of this sort of just working from home cycle. They want to get back into the office. They want to meet sort of in a face-to-face way, so they can collaborate and work on sort of projects and things like that sort of as a team. And I think off the back of that, it's going to drive sort of better efficiencies, better outcomes for sort of the companies as well, by bringing these people in. But as James has already sort of mentioned, what we need to look at is, sort of the way in which those workspaces are, designed. So we're going to see a lot more flexible spaces. We're going to see an agile way of working. You're not going to be, tied to your desk. You're going to see a lot more things like soft seating coming into, spaces. But people are still going to want to be able to collaborate with technology very, very quickly and easily. And with the increase in, sort of remote participants also needing to join these calls, that you're going to need to see these spaces being video enabled and, able to, handle conferencing, etc. So I think that you're going to see a lot of, thought going into the design of these spaces. James mentioned previously that you will see, sort of a lot of companies actually reducing the amount of, sort of building spaces that they're having. But what they will do is the building spaces that remain, they will make them, these collaborative spaces where people can come in and, really share information, and it will need to be an experience, sort of, and this is what, sort of, both, sort of Barco and Jabra are looking to, sort of bring to anyone, that's coming into these spaces, having good quality technology that works, that's secure, that allows for that, sort of instant sharing of information and best quality experience.
And I think just to pick up on one point there, Anthony, just in terms of, the whole experience going to the office from a company's point of view, obviously the whole culture of a company might now be hybrid. And actually, if you're not doing some of this stuff, this might be a lot harder for you to actually attract talent down the road. So I think, ultimately with all the things that are going to happen in the office, this is potentially going to be a big cultural and mind shift change for a lot of companies, but one that if they do want to be attracting the best people, they will need to do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fully agree with you, James. I think that is a major, sort of consideration of a lot of these companies. And as you see, sort of younger people coming into the working environment, they want to, have these, sort of technologies, and they want to have these experiences because that's the way they work. They collaborate today, sort of, it's about being together. It's about, sharing information and ideas.
Yeah, it's really good points there. And I'm keen to talk a little bit more about safety, actually. And obviously, we've got the well-being piece as well, because, well-being is a huge factor right now, isn't it, during this pandemic? And, it's not as if the pandemic's just going to stop and we're just going to kind of get back to normal. There's going to be a gradual kind of get back to normal phase, I suppose. And the normal is very different, right? So I'm keen to just kind of understand a little bit more around how you as vendors and Barco are helping to kind of deal with the kind of COVID safe kind of meeting room environment thing going forward. So James, first of all, what are Jabra doing, to make rooms safe as we go forward?
Yeah, I think as you rightly say, Rob, social distancing is still very much in play. It very much will be in play for probably at least the next 12 to 18 months. And, these CEOs and IT directors that we talked about, they want to know how the space is being used. I think the first thing really to talk about is, you need a wide angle camera, really, so that you can make sure that you can space people out safely within that room, but still, get as many people in there as you can, but also to still remain productive within that room. So obviously, if you can get the full 180 degrees, you can see the whole room, you can see everyone that is in there. I think what's also important from this, and what we also do, with our cameras, is that we have open APIs and SDKs on the camera. What that really means in layman's terms, that gives you access to some of the data that the camera is producing. So, for example, the camera can actually look at how many people are within that room at any one time. And you, if you wanted to, you could actually link the camera into a piece of software or whatever and see how many people are using it, and if that is maybe over a maximum limit that you may have already set. So you may say, right, I only want 6 people in this room. You can see 8 people in that room, and actually you can then go and do something about that. And actually we are, with some of these APIs and SDKs, trying to link that into other things. Obviously we work with Barco. We do work with some meeting room booking system companies as well, so that actually you can see when someone walks in the room, the camera can automatically detect them and put those systems onto not available, so people don't walk in there and are unsafe. And equally, you can do things like if you started a meeting at 10 o'clock, you can get the camera to look at 10 past 10, and then if there's no one there, it can release that meeting. So I think, from the social distancing and from that productivity angle, that's the way we're seeing things at the moment, from that whole sort of safety angle as well.
It's really great to see vendors adapting to this new way of working and these new set of challenges, because it's fascinating to kind of see all these new features that we never thought of before last year. So, Anthony, from Barco's perspective, how are you helping your customers to make meeting rooms safe?
So I think, as James rightly says, that, there's going to be a lot of consideration that's made to, getting people into offices, over the coming months, but getting them there in a safe way. So obviously, one of the key, benefits of, the Barco technology is that it's wireless. So it means that we can accommodate, social distancing significantly easier and better. We've also, seen a dramatic, deployment of laptop technology into the workforce at the moment. And we've recently done some research within Barco, and we've seen that, people would prefer, to actually use, their laptops as being their main medium in order to, share content or, join video calls from, because they feel safe, they're comfortable, with their own technology. And, going back to the whole safety element, if it's your device that you're touching all the time, there's less touch points within a meeting space. So, we've seen, big changes within our, portfolio of products, where we obviously have the button, which is, a single touch point, rather than obviously multiple touch points, within the meeting room. In addition to that, we've also got app-based, conferencing on our products now. So that means that if you don't want to utilize, the famous click share button, you can actually utilize the Barco app to do your content sharing, etc. So again, we're making big strides forward to, ensure from a, safety perspective, the meeting rooms are as safe as possible, with our technologies. And again, to reiterate what James was saying, there's a lot of data that you can now obtain from our new management platform, which is called XMS Edge. And that allows you to see, things such as the number of occupancies within a meeting room. It allows you to go into the statistics as to how, those meeting room spaces are being used, giving, the IT and the facility management and even HR now, the ability to be able to see, how the resources are being used within the buildings. So lots of, big changes that we're seeing with the new way of working taken into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. James, back over to you for a second. My last question would be kind of, what does the future look like here? I mean, if we wind the clocks forward 12 months, what's it going to look like? What do you think? Any predictions?
Yeah, I think obviously a lot depends on how things go over the next year with the rollout of vaccines and how quickly we manage to release things as a country. and obviously across the whole of Europe as well. But a lot of the themes that we've spoken about today, I think, either companies will have already thought about a plan in terms of what they're going to do with that office, or they will be already in a space where they have actually re-engineered that office into different areas. They've actually started to consolidate those offices down. I do believe, though, without that, I think most companies will already be having some hybrid way of working. So even if offices have reopened in the former state they were before people actually went in, they will actually still have this 2 days working in the office and 3 days at home. But I actually think there is probably two parts to it. There's the one part, obviously, that is the getting back safely and talking about these collaboration zones. But I think, the whole point that myself and Anthony have been talking about with data is also the next sort of phase of this as well. So, obviously looking at what is happening in those meeting rooms. We can see, obviously, are people safe in those meeting rooms from the data? But, we now are looking at, well, okay, what is the size of that meeting room? Is it a meeting room for 10 people? And actually, on average, we can see that 5 people are going in. So actually, from a real estate perspective, do we need to make further changes to what is happening there? So I think, those sort of angles, I think linking it into things like room booking systems, into other areas, so that processes are fully automated, I think that will be the two-stage really. So firstly, the safety, the rejigging of the offices, and then secondly, this wider bit with actually integrating everything into each other and looking at the data and being able to make some really good business decisions off what you've seen on the back of that.
That's great. Anthony, what do you think 12 months from now, what's it going to look like?
So I think the overriding statement is the office is not dead. So, I think that, again, we're going to see that, things are going to change dramatically within the office. And I think, the way in which people work within the office is going to fundamentally change. I think you're going to see a lot more things like bring your own meeting, which is going to become, more to the forefront of people's minds. I think that you're going to, look to see how you can use your space more effectively. Though you're obviously trying to, control the number of employees that are coming into those offices from a, collaboration point of view, you want to give them the best experience. So I think, for both myself and James, the key elements and the key reason for our joint approach is that we've got complete harmony between, the Jabra approach and the Barco approach. That, the Jabra guys, we've got fantastic products from, the cameras and the, headsets, etc. And then from a Barco perspective, we've got, the market leading, Barco conferencing technology with the new ClickShare conference. And I think that these products, when they work, in union with each other, will basically enhance that experience for, the employer and the employee. And I think that, by bringing this technology into the meeting rooms, they will be able to achieve the collaboration and the hybrid way of working that, everyone is striving for today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is all about that experience. And if you don't invest in the right technology, that experience is potentially at risk, isn't it? So fantastic. In terms of rounding this up, James, what's the best way for viewers to find out more?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. From our side, please go to jabra.co.uk/Panicast, or feel free to reach out to me personally. My details will be on the screen right now.
Thanks.
And Anthony, what's the best way to get in touch with Barco?
So again, if you can go to barco.com, we've got a dedicated landing page for the new ClickShare products. You can even go on there and you can register for a live demonstration where one of my team would be happy to take you through, a live demonstration of the new CX products. Plus, there's also the opportunity to actually trial the technology for a 4-week trial period with no obligation and no cost. This is aimed at end customers. So, if people are looking to, sort of target their or look at redesigning their meeting spaces, then do take this try and buy opportunity as well. And if anyone wants to reach out and contact me directly, I'm sure Rob will be kind enough to put my information also on this, interview as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. So, James, Anthony, it's been super speaking to you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Great. Thank you, Rob. It's been a great conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rob, and thank you, James, for inviting me.
And that's it from us. If you've enjoyed today's session, please subscribe to UC Today News and give this video a quick share on social. It's always appreciated. And if you're a UC fan and want to be part of the conversation, you can join us using the UC News hashtag on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, and our social links are in the description. So I'm Rob Scott from UC Today. Thanks for watching.